Thank you for staying with us. Taking you to the focus for this morning, the Nigerian Labour Congress has suspended its nationwide protests, which were held in different states of the Federation earlier on Tuesday. The Labour, in a communique at the end of its National Executive Council meeting, said the objectives of the protest were achieved on the first day of the demonstration. Recalls that Nigeria has been hit by rising inflation, food inflation, forex crisis, economic hardship, and high cost of living, occasioned by the removal of petrol subsidy, attracting protests in parts of the country. The presidency had engaged labor leaders in a last-minute talk on Monday night, but the meeting ended in a stalemate at the NLC, as the NLC insisted that the protest was going to hold. However, the NLC grounded economic activities across the country on Tuesday, with Labour leader Joe Ajero saying that the protest was about hunger and not just a clamor for a review of the minimum wage. To have this conversation with us this morning is Matthew Oluku. He's a public affairs analyst. Good morning, Mr. Matthew. Thank you for joining us. All right, let us take a look at the alleged division between the NLC, the TUC, and of course the 14 days ultimatum that was issued by the Labour to the federal government before we get to the protest that happened on Tuesday. I can almost feel like I know what your stands are when it comes to NLC and the TUC brouhaha. But for the benefit of our viewers this morning, how do you react to the entire situation?
Okay, to start with, I think it's quite unfortunate when we saw that polarization. But definitely a house divided against itself cannot stand. Even if the NLC chairman, the president, Joe Ajero, is saying that the protest registered, they achieved that. But for me, I think it would have been more, we would have more people on the streets that day, more than what we had. So, however, I think the organized labor should go back and put their house in order. Because it's not good that you are going into a protest and a major union like TUC is backing out. I don't want to see the federal government find their way in lobbying TUC. I don't have the record, but I understand that TUC was trying to cite some reasons that may have to do with maybe anarchy and things like that. But I am not convinced that such protest would lead to anarchy. Because if you understand what is happening, everybody across board agree that there is hardship, socio-economic crisis. I just saw this morning that even Mr. President, while he went to Ondo State yesterday, said he take responsibility. He acknowledged that actually there is suffering. So that means I don't think anybody want to, even the hoodlum, the fear of hoodlum hijacking the process, I don't think that will be there. So I think the organized labor should go back and put their house in order.
All right, let's get into the protest. This morning it was on the news that the Labour came out to say that the objectives of the protest were achieved on the first day. Do you agree with that?
It depends on what they want to achieve. It depends on what is the objective. Because if what they are looking at is federal government meeting their demand, I understand that their demand, the agreement was reached in sometime October last year, and we still have a situation where organized labor is still engaging federal government for the purpose of reaching an agreement on the minimum wage. I understand that federal government already set up a committee to tinker with whatever the new minimum wage should be. So it's not on record that federal government have addressed their concern.
Exactly.
But even as we speak, the areas of intervention by federal government, I don't think any of them have been addressed. I'm talking about the CNG buses. I'm talking about the 50,000 that was supposed to give it to some good number of nano business owners. And we're talking about 1,500,000, as the case may be, that should have gone to a good number of small medium scale enterprises. And we're talking about the proposed 1 billion to about 75 companies to galvanize economic activities as a way of boosting our GDP. So for me, I don't think they have achieved their aim. Maybe because they feel intimidated. Don't forget that before the protest proper, we had a situation where government was there were warnings from different angles. We saw the one that came from DSS. We saw the one that came from government itself. So I don't know. Maybe they're intimidated. I don't know.
So when you said maybe you feel they've achieved their aim, in what sense?
No, they are the ones saying they have achieved.
Okay, so when they have achieved, when they have achieved their aim, so why is he coming out to cry foul that they were intimidated and threatened?
No. He didn't say they were. I'm the one insinuating.
On the papers, they said that they were threatened.
No, it's on record that they were threatened.
So on what basis now would they say that their aims have been achieved?
That is what we should ask Ajero. Because personally, I don't think that it has been achieved. Because if not for anything, all the areas, in fact, the agreement they reached with government has the government meet with the terms of the agreement.
So on what basis are they now pushing forward a 7-day ultimatum?
And maybe you want to give government room to address those concerns.
Where is the will? I mean, October last year is what? About 8 or 9 months ago. And it's the same conversation. We give you time, because I know that there was an ultimatum at that time as well. There was supposed to be a strike, actually, indefinite strike at that time that didn't see the light of day, and we were here to talk about it as well. And I'm giving the same reason as why they are calling off the protest and alluding that the objectives of the protest were achieved on the first day. It doesn't make any sense. I'm really hoping that Joe Ajero and the leadership of the Labour will get better with communication and expression.
I think the hero of the day is even Falana. Though he's a lawyer, don't forget that the government, through the office of the Minister of Justice, wrote to Labour through Falana, reminding them that there's a substituting court order, and that they go ahead with the protest, that they will be in contempt of that order, and they may be charged for contempt. Falana did not waste time in replying them and making them understand that federal government haven't withdrawn the contempt proceeding initially instituted against Ajero and the TUC leader. And he mentioned some other areas or some other legal issues that they cannot in any way say this protest is in contempt of that court order. So I think he's even the one that gave them the energy, the willpower, the encouragement to protest. And after the protest, I've not seen government saying that they violated any court order. So it means if someone like Falana was not there, they would have intimidated Abinishia, and perhaps they wouldn't have even come out at all.
All right, let's look at it.
Perhaps that is even what threatened the TUC leader. I don't know.
Let's look at the implication of having a weak representation of the citizenry, a weak representation of workers, a weak representation of the average Nigerian man on the street. And I'm saying this away from representation at the Senate House and the House of Representatives. No, I'm saying this in the labor sense of things. Yeah. What is the implication where we have a labor union that seems to be, not functioning in its full capacity, not able to say a word and hold on to it? Because since the administration of Joe Ajero as the leader of the NLC in Nigeria, it's been one story after another, one back and forth after another. Are we ever going to get to a point where the federal government, the presidency, state government, and leaders in political authority are able to hear that labor is coming and maybe just shiver for once? Do you see that ever happening?
I think the implication is the government will be operating with impunity. Because it means we no longer have any pressure group. And when that happens, they say power corrupts and absolute power corrupts absolutely. I think that's where we're heading to. Because nobody would take labor seriously going forward. If they have lost the potency to fight for the people. We are not even saying they should fight for the generality of Nigerians. Fight for the members first. Well, because I don't know why we saw what happened under Oshomole. If Oshomole was not active and labor was not having that force, federal government would not think of the idea of organizing labor. Because it was under Obasanjo's administration, they gave independence to different labor unions. Even the TUC was I think Labour leaders should go back to drawing board and look at where they are getting it wrong.